Wind howls against the Afghanistan cliff face. Snow slashes sideways like frozen daggers across jagged stone.
Move!
6 Navy SEALs trapped in a narrow ravine. Temperature plummeting to 20 degrees Celsius. Ammunition critically low. Wounded men shivering in the darkness. Staff Sergeant Brian Miller clutches his mother's silver cross with trembling fingers, the same cross his grandfather had carried through the blood-stained beaches of Normandy. "Sir," he whispers, "they've abandoned us, haven't they?" Master Sergeant Jack Blackwood surveys their desperate position. No extraction route, no reinforcements, no miracles left. The 45-year-old veteran of countless operations exhales a cloud of frozen breath, crystallizing the truth they all know. Command wrote us off after the 4th day of radio silence. We're ghosts already. Enemy flashlights sweep downward. Russian voices mingle with Pashto across the snow-laden air. Boots crunch closer against ice and stone. 6 men, America's finest warriors, face their final stand in a forgotten corner of Afghanistan's merciless mountains. The date, March 17, 2011. David Reynolds, their premier marksman, winces as he adjusts his wounded shoulder. The sniper who once placed headshots at 1-200 yards now struggles to raise his MK-13 Mod 7 rifle. Blood has frozen on his tactical vest, a grim reminder of yesterday's firefight. "Contact left," whispers Michael Cooper, the team's weapons specialist, as shadows materialize through the blinding snow. Jack Blackwood had faced death before. In Desert Storm as a fresh-faced Marine, in a dozen nameless operations across 2 decades of service. But never like this. Never abandoned. Never forsaken by the country he'd sworn to defend. "Make every round count," he orders, though they all understand the mathematics of their situation. 6 men with 210 rounds facing superior numbers on terrain chosen by their enemies. The outcome has been predetermined by circumstances beyond their control. Miller grips his mother's cross, whispering prayers learned in Sunday school that seem impossibly distant from this moment of desperation. The silver cross cuts into his palm as his grip tightens, a physical anchor to memories of safety and love, to an America that feels like a fading dream. Specialist Jason Wilson, communications expert, makes one final attempt with their damaged radio. Static fills the airwaves like electronic snow. Either their equipment has succumbed to the brutal conditions, or command has truly abandoned them to whatever fate awaits in these hostile peaks. As enemy forces close in, Blackwood remembers his final conversation with Colonel Frank Matthews before deployment. The 72-year-old retired Green Beret and Cold War CIA advisor had pulled him aside with unexpected urgency. "Jack," he'd said, his weathered face grave, "after 40 years serving this country, I learned one thing. Sometimes the real enemy isn't the one with the gun facing you." The cryptic warning had seemed paranoid then. Now it echoes with prophetic clarity. Matthew's parting words returned to him. "If you're ever abandoned, look for the ghosts. People like us who've been betrayed but still honor the oath." 7 days earlier, their mission had been presented as routine reconnaissance. Standard drug trafficking surveillance, Brigadier General Richard Harris had explained in Bagram's secure briefing room. Simple observation and intelligence gathering. But the moment they crossed into the valley, Blackwood had sensed the deception. The compound they were sent to monitor wasn't housing mere drug smugglers. The men moved with military precision, communicated with tactical discipline. When Reynolds used his high-powered scope to observe closer, the truth became undeniable. Russian Spetsnaz operators training Taliban fighters, equipped with next-generation weapons that shouldn't exist in this theater. By day 3, they'd been compromised. By day 4, Reynolds had been wounded after eliminating 4 hostiles from over 3/4 of a mile away. By day 5, all communication with base had mysteriously ceased. Now, on day 7, Huddled in this frozen ravine, they face the bitter truth. They weren't sent to observe. They were sent to die. Deniable assets in a shadow war the American public would never know existed. Reynolds suddenly raises his hand for silence. His sniper's senses, honed through thousands of hours behind a scope, have detected something beyond the approaching enemy. "There's someone else out there," he whispers, gesturing toward the western ridge. "Watching us." Cooper follows his gaze but sees only darkness and swirling snow. "See what?" Reynolds shakes his head, unable to explain the feeling that they're being observed by something other than their hunters. "Not hostile, different. I can feel it." Blackwood has learned to trust Reynolds' instincts, but there's no time to investigate. The enemy is closing from 3 directions simultaneously. Professional tactics employed by forces that know exactly how to eliminate a trapped special operations team. "Weapons check. Final positions," Blackwood commands, his voice steady despite the certainty of what comes next. Each man acknowledges with disciplined calm. Professionals preparing to sell their lives dearly. Miller positions himself behind a rock outcropping, sighting down his M4 carbine at the approach from the north. The young SEAL's hands no longer tremble. Fear has been replaced by the cold clarity that comes in final moments. He thinks of his mother in Iowa, how she'll receive the news, how the flag will be folded at his funeral. Then it happens. The first impossible shot splits the frigid air. A muzzle flash ignites on the western ridge, followed by the distinctive crack of a high-powered rifle. The lead enemy soldier drops without a sound, his Russian-made AK clattering against stone. The shot came from neither Reynolds nor any other SEAL. "Who fired?" Blackwood demands, scanning the ridge where the shot originated. Before anyone can answer, a second shot follows, then a third. Each round finds its target with surgical precision, dropping enemy combatants in rapid succession. The shooting displays a pattern Blackwood recognizes from classified briefings long ago. Command structure decimation. Radio operator first, squad leader second. Heavy weapons specialist third. Reynolds stares in professional awe. That's 400 yards minimum, in a snowstorm, with 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts. He shakes his head in disbelief. Nobody shoots like that. Yet the impossible marksmanship continues. 9 seconds between shots, the standard cadence of Langley standard firing, a CIA sniper technique from the Cold War era. Each round perfectly selected for its target. No wasted shots, no misses. Clean kills executed with the efficiency of someone who has made killing an art form through decades of dedicated practice. The enemy forces fall into disarray as their command structure collapses. Panicked voices in Russian and Pashto fill the night. "Prizrek! Prizrek! Ghost! Ghost!" Wilson, the team's Russian linguist, translates their frantic communications. They're talking about the ghost of Kabul, some kind of sniper legend. They're terrified. Reynolds squints through pain and exhaustion toward the western ridge, trying to identify their mysterious benefactor. There's an old story among snipers, a CIA ghost team from the Soviet-Afghan War, operators who were disavowed but stayed behind. The enemy forces, once confident in their approach, now retreat in disorder. Professional soldiers acknowledge superior force when they encounter it, and survival instincts override tactical objectives when death approaches with mechanical precision. "Move now," Blackwood orders, as their hunters become the hunted. "This is our window." The SEALs exit their death trap, supporting Reynolds as they navigate through deep snow. As they cross an exposed area, Reynolds glimpses movement on the ridge, a figure repositioning with tactical awareness that speaks of decades of experience. The silhouette is unmistakably that of a woman, perhaps in her 60s, moving with the fluid economy of a lifetime operator. "Impossible," Reynolds murmurs. What is it? Cooper demands. I saw her. The shooter. Reynolds' voice drops to a whisper. It's a woman, older. But that can't be right. Miller assumes Reynolds is delirious from his wound and the cold. But Blackwood remains silent, Matthew's words echoing. Look for the ghosts. The SEALs find temporary shelter in a small cave as the blizzard intensifies. Martinez, their medic, tends to Reynolds' wound, but his expression is grim. The wound is infected. Without antibiotics, he won't make it through the night. Then I'd better provide some, comes a voice from the cave entrance. 6 weapons instantly train on the figure silhouetted against the snow-filled night. A woman steps forward, her movements measured and confident despite her age. Perhaps 60, with silver-gray hair cut short beneath a weathered watch cap. Her face bears the lines of decades spent in harsh environments, with a thin scar running from temple to jaw. She carries a Chaytak M200 Intervention 408 sniper rifle with custom modifications, a weapon maintained with reverent precision. Sparrow 6, Blackwood says, recognition dawning in his eyes. The woman's weathered face shows brief surprise before settling into a wary smile. No one has called me that in 30 years. She tosses a medical kit to Martinez. Swiss antibiotics. No traceable markers. It will keep him alive. Cooper maintains his aim, suspicious. Who are you? Catherine, she answers simply. Just Catherine now. She moves with the economy of someone who has survived decades in unforgiving conditions, her gaze constantly sweeping their surroundings with professional assessment. You've been betrayed, she states matter-of-factly. Your mission was never about drug trafficking. It's part of Operation Silent Shield. Blackwood stiffens. How do you know our mission designation? Because I've seen this play before, with a different name, in East Berlin, 1989. Catherine's eyes hold the weight of buried history. Same scenario, same outcome. Expendable assets sent to trigger a specific response. Wilson lowers his weapon slightly. Why help us? Catherine's gaze shifts to the distance, as if seeing ghosts of her own. Because 30 years ago, I was you. My team was sacrificed for political convenience. Only difference is, I lived. She kneels beside Reynolds, examining his wound with practiced hands. And I made a promise to Frank Matthews that I'd never let it happen again. Matthews? Blackwood's surprise is evident. You knew Colonel Matthews? He was the only one who tried to warn us before Berlin. Catherine efficiently cleans Reynolds' wound. The only one who remembered we existed after the agency declared us dead. She looks directly at Blackwood. He told you to look for the ghosts, didn't he? The revelation silences Blackwood. This woman knows things no one outside his final conversation with Matthews could know. You have 18 hours before their reinforcements arrive, Catherine continues, sketching a crude map in the dirt floor. I know a passage the Soviets built during their occupation. It doesn't appear on any military maps. Why should we trust you? Cooper challenges. Catherine rolls up her sleeve, revealing a faded tattoo, the old CIA Special Activities Division. Insignia with the Latin phrase, non sibi sed patriae, not for self, but for country. Because Frank Matthews trusted me, and he was the only one who didn't abandon me 30 years ago. Her eyes meet Blackwood's with unflinching intensity. You don't survive 3 decades in these mountains by betraying people. Reynolds, his mind clearing as the medication takes effect, studies Catherine with professional curiosity. Those shots you made, impossible distance, perfect execution, that's not standard military training. Nightingale Program, Catherine replies. CIA Black Project, 1979-1986. 12 graduates. I was the only woman. She checks her rifle with practiced hands. Most died in operations that never officially happened. The rest of us, we became ghosts. As Catherine leads them through treacherous mountain passages, she explains how her team had been sent to extract a scientist from East Berlin in 1989, days before the wall fell. The mission was compromised from within, sacrificed to maintain Cold War tensions that justified billions in defense spending. After Berlin, I disappeared, Catherine explains, as they navigate a Soviet-era tunnel system. Officially dead, actually free. I made my way here during the first Taliban rise. Been watching these mountains ever since. Watching for what? Miller asks. For people like you. Soldiers abandoned by the same system I once served. Catherine moves with the confidence of someone who has traveled these routes countless times. In 25 years, I've guided 36 special operations teams to safety. Teams that were written off, disavowed, or sacrificed. Why stay here? Miller persists. You could go home. Catherine's laugh holds no humor. Home where, young man? Where they declared me dead? Or where I'd have to answer for things I did in service to my country? She pauses, surveying the path ahead. I stay because of my oath. Not to the CIA or the government, but to the soldiers who fought beside me. Their journey continues through the night, Catherine guiding them through passages that avoid known enemy positions while providing concealment from aerial observation. Her knowledge of the terrain and enemy patterns speaks of years of patient observation. As dawn approaches, Wilson's damaged radio crackles to life. General Harris's voice breaks through the static. Delta 6, we've triangulated your position. Extraction helicopter inbound to your coordinates. Catherine immediately signals for silence. Turn it off, she orders sharply. It's a trap. Blackwood hesitates, torn between military protocol and his growing trust in this ghost from the past. That's exactly what they told us in Berlin, Catherine insists, right before Russian missiles found our position. Her eyes hold Blackwood's. They're using you as bait, same as they used us. The moment of decision crystallizes for Blackwood. Trust this woman who saved them once already, or follow chain of command that had abandoned them to die. He thinks of Matthew's warning, of Catherine's impossible shots, of the mission that never made sense. Radio off, he orders Wilson. We follow her lead. They're within 2 miles of the Pakistan border when the ambush comes. Gunfire erupts from a ridge they'd been assured was clear. Catherine reacts before any of them, shoving Miller to safety as bullets tear through the space he occupied seconds before. What follows is a masterclass in combat efficiency. Catherine and Reynolds work in perfect tandem, her decades of experience complementing his youthful strength despite his injury. They systematically eliminate threats with precision fire while Cooper and Martinez provide covering support. Miller, the youngest, finds himself fighting alongside Blackwood as enemy forces close from the east. The young SEAL, who once trembled in fear, now moves with decisive clarity, his shots finding targets with unexpected accuracy. When Cooper's weapon jams at a critical moment, it's Miller who drops the approaching enemy fighter with a clean headshot at 80 yards. They're nearing the border when Catherine takes a bullet intended for Martinez. The round catches her in the side, spinning her against a boulder. Blood darkens her weathered jacket, but she waves off Martinez's attempt to help. Keep moving, she orders through gritted teeth. I'll cover your extraction. Blackwood kneels beside her. We're not leaving you. Catherine pulls a USB drive from her pocket, pressing it into Blackwood's hand. 30 years of evidence, names, operations, the people who betrayed my team, and yours. Her breathing grows labored. Frank kept this all these years, gave it to me before he died last year. Come with us, Blackwood insists. Catherine shakes her head. I can't cross that border. I don't exist in your world anymore. She presses her cherished sniper rifle into Reynolds's hands. The tool doesn't make the shooter, but a good shooter deserves a worthy tool. From her jacket, she produces a worn leather journal. My sniper's log. 40 years of knowledge. Learn from it. Teach it. With surprising strength, she pushes Blackwood away. Now go. I'll create a diversion. We don't leave our people behind, Blackwood protests. Catherine smiles through pain. I'm a ghost, Sergeant. Ghosts don't die. Her eyes, sharp despite her injury, hold his. Someone needs to ensure the truth comes out. That USB is more important than my life. The decision tears at Blackwood's soul, but he recognizes the strategic truth in her words. With a solemn nod, he gives the order to move. As they approach the border, the sound of Catherine's precision rifle provides covering fire, each shot eliminating threats with the same methodical efficiency they'd witnessed the night before. They cross into Pakistan as Allied forces approach from the south, the extraction Harris had promised, arriving hours late and miles from their original position. As medical personnel tend to Reynolds, General Harris descends from a helicopter, his face a mask of practiced concern. "How the hell did you make it out?" he demands. "We lost all contact." Blackwood says nothing, his gaze returning to the mountains where Catherine's rifle has fallen silent. The USB drive weighs heavy in his pocket, heavier than any metal or burden he's carried before. 3 weeks later, in Washington, D.C., Blackwood sits across from Lieutenant General Robert Campbell in a secure room within the Pentagon. Campbell, a decorated veteran with 4 stars on his horizon, examines the USB drive's contents with growing horror. "My God," he whispers, "Catherine Reed is alive." He looks up at Blackwood. "Do you understand what you've brought me?" "The truth," Blackwood answers simply. Campbell nods grimly. Operation Silent Shield is part of a black-budget program designed to maintain certain conflict zones active. Small fires to justify massive defense spending. He closes the laptop. Frank Matthews suspected this for years. He and I tried to find Catherine after Berlin, but she'd vanished completely. "What happens now?" Blackwood asks. "Justice, but quietly," Campbell replies. "Some of these names, they go high, Blackwood, very high. This needs to be handled with surgical precision." 1 year later, at the Naval Special Warfare Training Facility in Virginia, David Reynolds, now recovered and serving as a sniper instructor, opens Catherine's journal before a class of recruits. The leather-bound book has become his most treasured possession, its pages filled with handwritten notes spanning 4 decades of expertise. "Gentlemen," Reynolds addresses the silent room, "everything I'm about to teach you comes from a ghost. Someone who never existed according to official records, but saved more American lives than most decorated heroes." He places his hand on the Chaytak rifle, Catherine's rifle, now the centerpiece of his advanced sniper course. Not every hero has their name on memorial walls. Some are still out there, watching over us from distant ridges. Jack Blackwood, now retired from active service, works alongside General Campbell, systematically bringing accountability to those responsible for betraying American operators. The evidence Catherine provided has led to quiet resignations, sealed indictments, and a gradual cleansing of the system that once abandoned her. Brian Miller has become a seasoned SEAL, the Silver Cross still hanging around his neck. The young man who once trembled in fear now mentors new recruits with quiet confidence, sharing lessons learned on that mountainside without revealing their classified source. In a small cafe near the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, a young Afghan woman meets with an elderly American tourist. The woman, barely 20, carries a Russian-made sniper rifle customized with modern components. The silver-haired American woman drinks tea, despite her obvious discomfort with her still-healing side wound. "Remember," Catherine tells her young protégé, "we don't fight for any government. We fight for the oath. Never leave anyone behind." Through a high-powered spotting scope positioned near their table, they monitor a team of American Special Forces operators moving through a valley that intelligence sources have deemed clear. Catherine has determined otherwise, identifying at least 3 ambush positions being prepared. Watch the ridgeline, she instructs her student. When they open fire, take the commander first, then communications, then heavy weapons. 9 seconds between shots. The younger woman nods, committing the pattern to memory. Will they ever know who saved them? Catherine's weathered face softens slightly. They don't need to know, but they need to live. She checks her watch with precision timing. Get into position. They'll need a ghost on the ridge in exactly 43 minutes. As her student departs, Catherine opens a secure laptop, typing a brief encrypted message to General Campbell. Package delivered. Returning to hunting grounds. She attaches coordinates for the American team about to be ambushed, knowing Campbell will ensure the information reaches the right people without compromising her existence. She closes the laptop and gazes toward the distant mountains that have been her home for 30 years. Not the home she once dreamed of, perhaps, but the place where her oath still matters. Where forgotten soldiers still need the guardian that watches from the ridge. Catherine Reed, once Sparrow 6, now the ghost of Kabul, shoulders her backup rifle and disappears into the crowded marketplace. Another invisible guardian, honoring a forsaken oath that no government remembers, but no true soldier ever forgets. In the mountains of Afghanistan, the legend continues. When American forces find themselves abandoned in impossible situations, salvation sometimes comes from distant ridges. Single shots with impossible accuracy. A path carved through darkness by a ghost who remembers what it means to leave no one behind.